exploring cybersecurity's blend of tech skills, business sense, and personal work life harmony.
Hacking and all these other things. There's a lot of stuff out on the internet that I would say is not good for a child to have access to.
So I'm guessing for cybersecurity people, attention to detail is like a big characteristic. Are there other characteristics that a cybersecurity person should have?
So I think attention to detail is probably the biggest one, of course. Ability to. I think one thing that's one trait in cybersecurity that's a little bit harder to find is understanding the business context and the business side of cybersecurity. So there's a lot of very smart technical people in cyber. So there's a lot of people who are really good at writing code and doing things on the keyboard. But it's more difficult to keep the business perspective in place. If you imagine perfect security, like perfect cybersecurity, would be unplugging all of the computers, right?
Yeah.
So then nobody could do any work. So there's, and if you even a less extreme example, the more restrictions you add to somebody's computer, the harder it is for them to do their job. So there's sort of a balance there, and so keeping the context of, hey, we want to protect these guys, but also it's really important that they're able to do their business and make money.
So I'm assuming all your people are very technical, know they're doing, but how do you make sure they are like customer service friendly and doing the customer service stuff?
Well, there's some people that are more, comfortable, being customer facing, and then there's people who are less comfortable, and so we just base it on that. I think everybody is very honest. Everybody is very humble, and if they don't want to go talk to customers, they usually will just say it.
Yeah. So how do you see yourself growing in the next few years?
You mean company wise?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so hopefully, we can expand our customer base and just get more people on board. We have some software initiatives that we're working on, but I think really the short answer is, we're just hoping to get a lot more customers on board.
Yeah. So back to running and biking. You said you run a bike every day, once a week.
So biking has been a little bit on the slow for some time because my bike's in disrepair and not nearby. But I run all the time. Yeah.
Okay, just run around by your house, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'll run down by the pier.
Okay.
My favorite place.
Do you have any favorite hiking trails?
Yeah, I mean, I've been with some people. I don't, truthfully, I don't really pay super close attention to where I'm hiking.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times other people are planning it for me, and then I'll just go with them.
Go with the flow.
Mhm.
Okay. And you're not from Seattle though, are you?
No,
Where are you from?
the Bay Area,
Barry. Okay.
and near San Francisco.
Okay. Nice. And you started your company here in Seattle, down the Bay Area.
So originally I started my company in Texas,
Okay. That's right. And does the name of your company mean anything?
Security Research Group. So it's sort of a mouthful, and so we normally abbreviate SRG.
Mm.
But I sort of see research as really the highest form of pretty much indie industry. So if you think about cyber, where does innovation happen? So we're always trying to stay on the cutting edge of things.
Suppose you have a customer, right, and you tell your customer, hey, you need to do these things, but they don't do it right. How does that work? Like, do you like drop them because they're not doing what they need to do? Because that makes you look bad, maybe if they get hacked, or how does that work?
No, I mean if we give recommendations, that's the most that we can do for somebody. If they need help implementing them, then we're happy to help a lot of the time. But there's no way for us to kind of push or make somebody do those types of things.
So when should a company, does it depend on the size of revenue or something else? When should a company like go from like using you to hiring their own internal people?
So that's a good question. I mean, I think they're, a lot of times companies they're looking for outside consultants because they've reached capacity internally on some sort of issue. So, maybe they don't have any staff internally, or maybe they have a few, but they're overworked. So that's typically the point where they're reaching out for external help in the first place.
So in our startups, so people say, bring on sales at employee 6, product employee 5, like bring in different things at different employee numbers. What employee numbers should a company be at when they start being concerned about cybersecurity?
What priority number would you say somebody should, what priority should cybersecurity be to a company?
Yeah. I like what employee? I was like, if I'm employee 10, should I bring it on employee 5?
So I think it really depends heavily on the type of company that you are. So if you're building some software, for example, like Havness HR, that software platform. Hopefully, as the software was designed, really security was in mind during the design of the software, and that would be priority zero, really. Now, if you're selling, kitchen knives as your business, then it could be at the point where you become digital.
And do you see yourself being like world to world, like doing business in China, Vietnam, or like you already do Canada, but that kind of is the same thing, but
So I would say, I won't get into too many details on this, but I would say there's definitely be restrictions on what companies we would, or what countries we do business in.
okay, all right. Um, and for employees, like how often do they have they been staying with you? They leave like after 2 years, they've been with you for the whole time.
So at this point, the company is fairly small, so everybody's been there the whole time.
And for your employees, are you like you going in the back to the Navy to recruit them, or you just recruit them from everywhere?
So far, we've been able to recruit just from our friend group.
Okay.
The people that we knew in the Navy.
Okay. So you spent 6 years in the Navy. Can you talk? Where were you stationed at in the Navy?
So first, I went to school in Florida, Pensacola, Florida. Then I was in Maryland, so Fort Meade, Maryland, and then I was at NC Dock in Suffolk, Virginia.
Okay. And do you actually have to go on any boats for like 6 months at a time? You're all land based.
No, it's funny. I was in the Navy for 6 years, and I've never seen a Navy ship in
No.
person. Yeah. No.
Man. So was the experience in the Navy a pretty positive experience?
No, I would say it was an extremely positive experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you gonna get you have a master? You have a master's from Virginia Tech, I think, right?
Yeah.
So is it an advantage to get a master's in cybersecurity versus just having a regular degree?
It's hard to say. I mean, when it comes to college and school, a lot of the time I would say there's not a whole lot to gain, from the more advanced degrees, I would say. But I think it's worthwhile if you have the GI Bill, for example. You might as well do it.
Yeah. So I'm sure every day you have like hundreds of things to do every day. But how do you, like tomorrow, Wednesday, how do you make sure you focus on priorities 1 and 2 versus number 75? How do you keep yourself focused and work on the things you need to work on?
I think, intellectually you can just sort of think about what is going to be the most high impact things, and what, a lot of times there are things that are due right now versus due next week, and sort of the typical, prioritization process.
So how do you keep yourself from like falling for what's called the shiny object syndrome?
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm immune to that at all, but I think the easiest way to think about it, from my perspective, is always the timeline. So if there's something that's immediate, if I'm being required to do something by the certain point and there's no way around it, those are going to be the things I focused on first, no matter what.
And for your calendar, is your calendar like 1 month out, 2 months out, 1 week out? Like how far out do you plan?
So my calendar is not a great example of a beautiful calendar, but mine has probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks out.
Okay. And then like how do you do your schedule? Right? Do you like work 9 to 5 every day? You work 80 hours a week every day? Do you take like weekends off? How do you do that?
I would say there's no real restrictions, so maybe not the healthiest way to approach it, but I would consider a Saturday the same I would consider a Wednesday.
And so a lot of people say work-life balance. Some people say you work 100 hours a day, 100 hours a week. Like how do you approach that? Right? Do you think there's work-life balance, or is this like life, or how do you approach that?
I don't consider it too much, because I just feel like there's a lot of great content in my life, both inside of work and outside of work. So, if I felt like I was, working my fingers to the bone and suffering because of it, I would probably make a change. But personally, have a good work-life balance sort of just naturally.
So what do you think you'd be doing if you weren't doing this?
Maybe I'd work in law enforcement.
Law enforcement.
I think that would be kind of interesting.
And so you said you knew you wanted to do this at an early age. Like, it was something that happened in your life that said, "Hey, I want to do this as a career." Like, what trigger was that?
Well, ever since I was very young, I found, ways of making money and doing things online. For example, I'll give a little example of something I used to do in high school. There's a video game called Runescape, and Runescape is it's sort of a game where you go in there and you collect money and you're able to buy resources and do different things. The game itself wasn't super interesting to me, but I found that you could write little scripts and it would play the game for you, and then it would collect gold, and then you could sell that gold. and people would buy the gold.